Welcome to the Solid Verbal.
The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildebrandt. I am over here in beautiful Allentown, Pennsylvania, joined as always by my colleague and co-host and friend of many years, way over there, over yonder in beautiful New York City. Sir, how are you?
I'm not going to lie, Ty. The microphone, what is it called? It's the foam piece in front of it, the pop, not a pop filter.
The windscreen.
The windscreen.
Yeah.
Thank you. It smells a bit like urine.
Really?
And I try to speak close to it so that everybody can hear my nonsense in the clearest possible way. And it's getting a little bit weird. It's not great.
Is this your foam piece or is this a
No.
borrowed foam?
This is the Vox
Windscreen.
Media Studio windscreen.
They just got a new office for you. They should be able to get new
You
foam.
would think so, Ty. You would think so. Also, in preparation for this Q&A show, one, I looked up, because we're doing a Q&A show. Hey, everybody. One, I did some research into the A's for the Qs that were submitted.
Oh.
And two, in looking for any sort of news to talk about, Ty, I looked at the daily email I get from Jason Kirk and SB Nation.
They do a very good job.
Newsletter, the SB Nation college football newsletter that comes into my mailbox every day that has all sorts of news that you should know. It's called the read option, by the way.
Yes.
There is nothing happening. It's just all like Leonard Fournette can jump 28 and a half inches. And that's not a lot to go on for a college football podcast.
What's funny about that is that you put together our little run sheet here of all the questions that came in via email and Twitter and Facebook or wherever. And at the very top, you've got in bold, in all caps, news, and then 2 bullet points. I looked at those 2 bullet points and I was like, is there anything else? Is that news at all?
This was 9 o'clock a.m. This is what came in for yesterday's college football news. It was combine stuff, which is, it's tangential. It's relevant to our interests. We've got a piece on whether Oregon's mascot is actually named Puddles or just the duck, or
Okay.
if it's a Nike attempt to brand.
Right.
Bill C., who is already previewing teams, previews North Texas. He's encouraged. It's time for junior days, recruiting-wise, high school kids visiting schools. Andy Staples wrote about a 6'9", 400-pound dude from Australia who's never played football and has offers from major colleges to play offensive line. Never played a single down of football, of organized football. Minor Ohio State players transferring, a bunch of Georgia Tech players transferring, and celebration penalties in the NFL. It's not a ton to go on. So I guarantee you this.
Scant.
We will make our best attempt to talk about bank robberies and trail mix and some hypothetical college football stuff. as well.
I'm so excited for this.
Yeah.
I am so excited for this. So thank you for listening to the show. We're at itunes.com/solidverbal as well as solidverbal.com. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all the usual social media stops that you might have. You can also email us at solidverbal@gmail.com and let us know how we're doing. We continue to record and podcast all throughout the off season. Once we get a little closer to the season, we'll go 2 times a week if
Yep.
you're not familiar with our rhymes and rhythms. But in the meantime, we tend to do these Q&A shows when we get into like the slow news downturns of college football off season, right? It's currently one of those, but before long, we'll get to spring football. We'll talk about the NFL draft because that's something that a lot of college football fans are into. We'll talk about it from a college football perspective. And we've already started lining up a bunch of big name college football head coaches.
Yes.
One of the cool things that I like about that is when we can sort of look back after the year and say, oh, we got this guy. Oh, we got that guy. Like we've had Tom Herman the last 2 years. Tom Herman's been very relevant in college football over the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Without question.
I would say so.
Last year was one of our strongest portfolios yet as it relates to college football head coaching interviews. The way that it is presently shaping up looks like it will by far be our biggest and best yet. So I'm really excited about that. That's probably coming up in the next couple months as well.
Yeah, not too many people know this, but when Bobby Petrino crashed his motorcycle, he was actually on the phone with Ty answering what was job one for the 2012 season. Not many people know that. And so we apologize, obviously. That's on us. That is on us. Also, relevant question to things you were just mentioning. Would it be possible for you to tell everybody that we're over 900 reviews on iTunes?
Yes.
I believe. Bud told me that. Bud Elliott is on top of these things.
I have not checked recently, but that would sound about right. Yeah.
I don't think we've eclipsed 1,000. Okay. So if you could go to iTunes, if you haven't yet, I know this is like everybody says this on every single podcast you listen to. I get it. We're nearing 1,000. It would mean a whole lot to us if you went on iTunes and threw us a review. If you like the show, throw us some stars, maybe 5. 5 stars would be wonderful. So let's close in.
Stars on iTunes, stars on Facebook, stars anywhere you can.
Mm-hmm.
I think should be the motto for this offseason. But yes, absolutely, that helps. If you listen on Overcast, recommend the show through your podcast app of choice. All that stuff helps us out. But before we get into all the college football nitty-gritty that awaits us in the coming weeks and months, we do need to do our Q&A, and then we've got an exciting announcement about a show we're going to be doing next week and then the week after. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. But
you mentioned that it's a longer off season and there's not as many topics. I look at it like as a barbecue thing, Ty.
Yeah.
This is the low and slow burn that gets to the seasoned brisket.
It's the crock potting before the great feast, right?
So right now we're actually, I'm not a big slathering of a brisket guy. I don't want to marinate. We're seasoning it. We're gently seasoning it with some salt and pepper, maybe a little bit of garlic and brown sugar, but salt and pepper is plenty. So we're salting and peppering that off-season brisket.
Where do we want to start?
Do you have thoughts about the combine before we get started? Because that's the closest thing to news. as we have.
I love when I see that someone like Myles Garrett had 33 reps on the bench press at like 225.
Yeah.
I like seeing that John Ross ran a 4.22 before hurting his leg.
Yeah.
Like, I like seeing the eye-popping stats. I don't really put much stock in it beyond that.
I like seeing you completely overlook the Temple Owls and Hassan Reddick, jumping like 11 feet in the broad jump. Just stomping your disrespect of the Owls. I love that.
I find that my interest level has gone down with age in the combine.
Oh, yeah. It's tough, but I think the clear best part is to see just how athletic and nimble and, the burst and the change of direction of the huge dudes, where you think to yourself, well, sure, he's 325 pounds, but there's no way he's actually athletic. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, he's just pushing a dude in front of him. It's college football, and the guy's not an NFL player, and so he's easier to push around if you're this 325. Nope, these are just enormous athletes that are impressive at everything they do.
I also look forward to Bruce Feldman's annual Draft Combines Freaks column, where he talks about the most athletic guys.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, though, no, not a whole lot of interest. It's a cool little mini game that goes on within the game, and I'm excited to talk draft at some point, probably next month, with a draft nick or two.
A totally underrated part of the combine and the draft itself is seeing a school that wasn't necessarily successful at, winning college football games, but have like 7 draft picks. The old like Ron Zook, Illinois, like Corey Legit, Whitney Merciless. Where are all these guys coming from? And we knew that they were good in college, but then the NFL's like, no, this is a team legitimately stocked with NFL players, and they go 3-9.
It somehow does more to undermine the credibility of their college coach.
Right. It's sort of an Al Gross special as well, I would argue.
All right, what
Virginia
else?
Players.
What else is going on?
Not too much else, but I saw somewhere when I was scanning things that, a big story coming for this season. I'm just going to ask this question myself because we have a bunch of questions. I had to pare down a bunch of questions. We got a bunch through email and Facebook and whatever. But one of the things that I always enjoy, and somebody asked this just on a Twitter Q&A, is what I'm looking forward to other than Oregon and what they do in 2017, just in college football in general. And my answer is generally the same thing, and that's just emerging quarterbacks. Quarterback is such a hard position to play, especially now with so much talent playing on defense. And it's just more and more difficult with guys transferring year in and year out. And we don't get to see them get a ton of experience within the same program. So which of these 4 emerging quarterbacks, if you had to rank these guys, and they're specifically emerging because they are emerging from other teams and going to new teams, which of these 4 people will we say in December, well, he's the clear standout of this group?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Because this is a good year for quarterback transfers. So we've got Will Grier starting at West Virginia.
Moving
yeah. After a very promising start at Florida and then leaving under some unfortunate pharmaceutical circumstances.
Some would say,
Some would say.
Sure.
Kyle Allen, moving on from Texas A&M. He sat out last year. He's going to be playing at Houston this year.
Yep.
Thought he'd be playing for Tom Herman, but in fact, it'll be Major Applewhite. Blake Barnett, moving on from Alabama and becoming immediately eligible at Arizona State. And Jarrett Stidham, taking a year off after the fiasco, life fiasco at Baylor, and emerging at Auburn. So, of those 4 quarterbacks, I don't know if you want to rank them 1 through 4, but right now, as it stands in early March, and nobody has really played any sort of significant time in the spring, let alone the fall, who would you take from that group?
From that group, I think I'd take Jarrett Stidham.
Okay.
I would take Jarrett Stidham. Now, I'm not crazy about the offense he's going to find himself in. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, but in his short time at Baylor, he showed a ton of promise. We simply haven't seen a whole lot out of Blake Barnett. We saw flashes from Kyle Allen, but that was up and down. And Will Grier showed a lot of promise before going to the Pine at Florida. So I feel like of all the people that we saw, Stidham to me felt like he had the most upside. So I would put him 1. I'm going to put Will Grier 2 because when he came in,
I think these are all 5-star high school guys, I believe.
Yeah, I mean,
at least on some services.
You probably can't go wrong talent-wise with any of these guys. But if I'm going to pick a second one, I'll go Will Grier.
Okay.
He's going into a system where he's going to air it out. And in his short time at Florida, he showed, I thought, a lot of promise. People at Florida were excited about Will Grier before that went south. Then that leaves me between Kyle Allen and Blake Barnett. I will put Blake Barnett at 3, knowing full well we hadn't seen anything from him. We saw minimal from him. He'll have plenty of opportunities to show his stuff. And I'll put Kyle Allen 4th. I don't know what Houston's going to look like post Tom Herman. I don't think it's like a situation where it falls off the cliff, but it's certainly not the same setup as it was. And Kyle Allen left a lot to be desired at Texas A&M. Granted, it probably wasn't all his fault, but I sort of expected a lot more. I feel like we've seen a lot from him that left me feeling disappointed. So he would be my number 4.
So I have Will Grier atop the list just because I think he looked good enough with the least around him. The running game wasn't spectacularly good at Florida. And the fact that he's moving on to a system, will have Justin Crawford in the backfield at West Virginia. If you remember Justin Crawford of the, wow, look what Justin Crawford is doing against Oklahoma.
Yeah, sure.
And the development of West Virginia receivers seems to be a year in and year out thing. It's a Shelton Gibson is gone, Kevin White the year before, year after year they just keep replacing the speed successfully. I think whenever it is that Will Grier gets on the field, he will be put in the best position given West Virginia's defense taking steps forward year in and year out. I think he's in the best position to make the biggest impact this fall. I have Jarrett Stidham 2nd, even with the question mark of, Rhett Lashley leaving for UConn, Chip Lindsey coming in from ASU, which then welcomes Blake Barnett. So we don't really know what the offense of Auburn is going to look like with Chip Lindsey. I imagine it will be heavy Malzahn influence, but maybe it's time to sort of weave in new ideas. I have Kyle Allen 3rd, just because I think his ceiling as a thrower is higher than Blake Barnett's. Even though we haven't seen a lot of Blake Barnett and Kyle Allen struggled some at Texas A&M, I think he will have, he'll be going against easier defenses, first of all, playing at Houston. And I have Blake Barnett, even though I really like the weapons that Blake Barnett has in N'Keal Harry and Kalen Ballage. I like those guys a lot. So 3 and 4 could go either way. I like the general talent level of Kyle Allen against AAC defenses and his throwing ability a little bit more than Barnett's.
All right, shall we get to our questions?
Let's do it.
Congratulations, Skippy. You've got mail.
You've got mail on the Solid Verbal.
As often as we can, and quite frequently in the off season, we do our best to pay homage To those of you who write into solidverbal@gmail.com, to our Twitter, to our Facebook. We did a Q&A about 3 weeks ago. We will do many more throughout the course of the long college football doldrums, the offseason. We've got some questions in here that were in here previously that we didn't get a chance to get to the first time around. We've also got a bunch of new ones, Dan.
Yes.
And so
Do we have old ones in here? I don't even remember any old ones.
I added an old one here.
Please surprise me.
Let's start out here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He says, I got a dilemma. Might make for a good off-season conversation.
Okay.
You, sir, are correct. I work for a fabulous nonprofit that does a lot of good work in our community. We're about to hold an annual fundraiser gala where we expect to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars. Sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
My dilemma is this. I've just been told that Vince Young will be at the event. I may be expected to hobnob with him, take photos, video of people with him, etc., etc. But I'm a USC grad. I have no desire to do any of this, but I also know that this event will help raise a lot of money for our organization. I'm wondering, to what level can I appropriately snub or throw shade at Vince, VY as it were, without gumming up the fundraising by alienating potential donors who like him or by pissing off my employer? So this is a deep question here, Dan. This is a deep question that I've
got a shallow answer, but yeah, it could be.
It sort of harkens back to like your roots as a college football fan / alum versus your new mature self as a career-oriented gentleman working for a solid nonprofit.
So if Vince Young is there as a positive force to do positive things, and I don't know Vince Young, I haven't been around Vince Young, but I would imagine he is somebody who really enjoys reveling in that huge game, that USC-Texas National Championship, one of our great modern games in our sport.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be fair to say he wouldn't be uncomfortable if you brought up that game.
No, not at all.
As a USC fan, as a UMass fan, whatever team you root for, I say lean into the fact that you were heartbroken. That will make him feel great. I will say, if I'm a USC fan, I'm saying something like, it was brutal watching the Tings try to tackle you, the Ting brothers. Right. It was heartbreaking. And that way you sort of endear yourself as somebody that like has a sense of humor about yourself, and you don't take things too seriously, but at the same time, you establish yourself as a college football fan. And you know what? Maybe he gives you a little nugget about that game that you never knew. And you just sort of like him a little bit more as a human. And I say steer into it. Because like I've interviewed a bunch of college players that have gone on to be NFL players at the NFL rookie thing we used to do. And we'd come across Washington players, and that was the point when Oregon was still beating Washington, but it was still fun to talk about that games in a non sort of trash talky way, because you find out nuggets, and that I'm in the nugget business. Ty, call me Dave Thomas. Yeah. I am a nugget guy. So sort of introducing yourself as a USC fan, but a good natured, good humored one should endear you, and you collect those nuggets. Because you have no leg to stand on trash talking.
No,
I root for a team that you literally ran over.
See, I don't think you can throw shade. You've got no leverage.
Or you go up to him and you say, I'm sorry. I'm a huge fan. I have to ask, are you Cole McCoy? Can I get a shot? Yeah.
All right.
You do that.
Where are we going next?
Let's start with Rob. Rob asks, if you could switch any two teams' conference affiliation to improve alignment, which two would it be and why?
Ooh. I have a problem with conference alignment. And I'm not talking about it from the financial standpoint. I'm not out there on the internet. I'm not examining the economics like Frank the Tank and some others that exist in the Twitter sphere. I'm looking at this purely from a geographic standpoint. So of course the answer could be like switch Notre Dame and Rutgers, because Notre Dame makes more sense in the Big Ten perhaps than Rutgers does, and so on and so forth. But one thing that's bothered me for a long time, it's been after this whole SEC realignment when they added Missouri and Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. Do you know where Columbia, Missouri is geographically speaking, Dan?
I do know where it is.
Can you tell me how many teams in the SEC West are actually farther east than Columbia, Missouri?
How many teams are farther east in the SEC West?
I'm talking SEC West teams that are actually farther east than Columbia, Missouri.
Is it all of them other than Texas A&M?
All of them other than Texas A&M is the correct answer, Dan.
Okay.
unless you're drawing a diagonal line of 60 degrees across the Southeast, there is no way a reasonable-minded cartographer could ever come to the conclusion that this is a logical way to break down your divisions. I prefer to go by longitude and not by any kind of 60-degree diagonal across the Sun Belt of the United States in order to form my conferences. So therefore, I feel like if you're going to try and do it right, you need to do something in the SEC. You need to better align based on West and East.
So you want to screw around with who's in the West and who's in the East. You're not switching conferences. You're almost doing division realignment, not conference realignment.
Sure. I'm looking within a conference. I'm getting more specific, hyper-local with this, Dan.
Hell yeah.
And by the way, this would work out better for the SEC East because the SEC East has been a bit of a dumpster fire over the last couple of years. Now, I'm not sure how well they'd take to maybe bringing Alabama over, Auburn over. Nobody wants that if you're in the East, but purely in terms of geographics and within the SEC conference, Dan, again, hyper-local. I'm saying that Columbia, Missouri, too far west to be in the SEC East.
All right. Can I answer Rob's question then?
Yes, please.
Conference affiliation. I'm going to add Texas A&M and Nebraska to the Big 12. That would make things better for the Big 12. They're two teams that up the quality, two huge name brands. They are geographically convenient enough, and Texas A&M is finding itself sort of strictly in the middle class at best of the SEC West. Nebraska is sort of a forgotten power, right? In the Big Ten, it feels like, with the Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and recently Michigan State attention.
They got better, though, this year. I still think it's a good cultural fit.
It's well enough, but I'm going to go with those teams being more Big 12 than not. And I understand the pull of their new conferences, and I understand, yes, it's East Texas. It's, a lot in common with the SEC. It's a good cultural fit for Texas A&M and the Southeastern Conference. But in terms of the general health of college football, I don't think either the Big 10 or SEC is affected by the loss of those two teams, and the Big 12 is greatly improved. Yes?
I would agree with that. They were also previously in the Big 12. So.
No, I know. This is true as well. That was sort of the sort of unspoken point.
So you're taking the safe way out with this question.
Absolutely,
because
I am.
There is a long storied history of those teams being in the Big 12.
Of course.
Yeah. I'm fine with
going
that.
back in time.
Did I not answer Rob's question? Again. Maybe I didn't answer it directly.
You said conference affiliation, and you went with division affiliation.
I appreciate this question, even if I didn't answer it directly, because it gave me the opportunity to get something off my chest. I've never actually articulated that point here on the podcast. So thank you, Rob. Thank you.
Ty, who is this year's Penn State? The answer is Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott, yeah. This year's Penn State.
Yes. So that's a broad question. So I'm interpreting this question as a team that is in the range of 500 in their conference one year, and through a new starting quarterback and perhaps a new staff or overhauled staff makes a leap, and also having a head coach that's on the hot seat going into the year perhaps, makes a leap to save everybody and get everybody encouraged.
There's no one for one here. This is a little bit like our goof from many months ago about who is going to be 2016's Iowa.
Right.
So there's no congruence here between Penn State and another team that exists in 2017 college football. Mm-hmm. At least not on my radar. I could pick a team like a Miami because they've got a starting quarterback, and maybe not a 500 team in 2016. They went 9-4, but there are going to be some questions there. I could see them bubbling up under Mark Richt. TCU is interesting. Maybe not a new starting quarterback, but 6-7 was a disappointing season. I think they've got room to grow. I was probably a year early on them. What about Texas? Does Texas fall into that category?
I mean, that's certainly an overhauled coaching staff,
right?
Texas went 3-6 in the Big 12, 5-7 overall. Penn State went 7-6, 4-4 2 years ago,
right?
I believe, yeah.
I don't know. Who do you have in mind?
So I have two teams here. I have TCU, who went 4-5 in the Big 12. They returned the same quarterback in Kenny Hill. I mean, I assume it'll be some sort of open competition.
No.
But a little bit of a shakeup offensively. Doug Meacham goes to Kansas, and it's all Sonny Cumbie's offense now. and a team that's more talented than 4-5 in conference, just like Penn State was more talented than 4-4 in the Big Ten. So I'm going to go TCU as one of the teams. I have another team that could mirror it in more ways than one, in more ways than like 3 different ways. Hear me out. The Tennessee Volunteers.
No, God, here we go.
This is why. 1, Bob Shoop factor.
Okay.
You got Bob Shoop.
Right. Okay.
So there's that.
There's a common thread. Yeah. Okay.
There is that common thread.
Sure.
2, they almost completely overhauled the staff.
Okay.
You have Brady Hoke's involvement, which is very Big Ten of Tennessee. And I think the main thread is, it's a new offensive staff by and large, and it is a completely new starting quarterback. It looks like it's going to be Jarrett Guarantano. I know it's sort of up for grabs, the starting job.
Right.
I really like him. Jarrett Guarantano, to me, I know he grew up, I think, in New Jersey. It's maybe not the highest level of high school competition, but I recently watched his tape as I was just like reading random things about random teams, and I watched his high school tape. Doesn't mean a lot, but reminds me of a little bit a similar game to Mariota. Not anywhere near him, but like the similar high school tape to Marcus Mariota. And I think he has the ability to come in and immediately affect change. I don't know what the offensive line was pretty atrocious last year. Defensively, there's still talent, but a lot of big losses. I know Josh Malone specifically said he turned pro because Josh Dobbs was turning pro and he didn't want to play with like a redshirt freshman, sophomore, whatever, QB. I understand that. I still think there's enough talent there that if Jarrett Guarantano is really good immediately, Tennessee could be Penn State-esque.
I'm excited to just call him Justin Guarini all year.
Yeah, I know you. I figured that would be the case.
All right, where are we going next?
All right, next question. Let's stay with that, though. Ryan, why does Ty think Penn State will take a step back this year?
I got called out.
You're such a big Chris Godwin fan.
Yeah.
Such a Chris Godwin fan.
I got called out for this on the Twitter machine. Let me clarify the statement. I'm not saying for sure that I think Penn State will absolutely take a step back this year. I don't think that's likely, but I think it's possible. Okay. I was never sold on Trace McSorley, and that to my dying day will haunt me. He had an incredible season last year. Yeah. He enters 2017 as a potential dark horse Heisman contender.
Not even dark horse. He's just like in the conversation.
He's in the conversation. Sure, he might not be top 5, but he's probably top 10.
Yeah.
So that's on me. I was wrong. He had a great year. I'm still not totally sold on him. And without Chris Godwin, I think that hurts the vertical passing game a little bit.
Gesicki's back, right?
Gesicki is back. That's right.
Okay.
I am curious to see how their linebacking core forms up now that Brandon Bell isn't with the team. And we saw when Bell got hurt last year,
huge difference,
that they had a little bit of difficulty getting things set up in that second tier of the defense. Now, they had more injuries than just Brandon Bell. It wasn't all on him. But without him, they were a much different defense. When he came back, he obviously made a pretty positive impact, and that was a big part of the reason why they were successful. So, I'm not saying it's a likely scenario, but it's mostly rooted in my irrational distrust of Trace McSorley at this point. But I am excited to see what they do, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope that does not happen.
Next question. This is from Khalil. Am I going to be cursed/blessed? I like that terminology.
Did he go hashtag blessed?
He did not, but we can.
Okay.
Am I going to be cursed / blessed with Mike Leach until he retires? I assume Khalil is a Washington State fan. I feel our program can't snag the big name coaches due to a multiple of reasons, and Leach is just good enough to keep himself from getting fired. I'm so tired of bubble screens. Ty, how would you evaluate the ceiling of both Washington State as a program, coach hire-wise, and what they can do in the standings with the way the Pac-12 is currently constituted, especially in the North?
Tough going in the Pac-12, right?
Absolutely, especially up north.
Especially up north. Does not strike me as a conference that's like just there for the taking. It's not going to fall off the back of a truck. So he's got his work cut out for him. I like Mike Leach. I think he's innovative. I also feel like we all know his shtick at this point. He's going to say funny stuff. He's going to run the air raid offense that he's always run. And I think because of that, it'll bring some consistency to Washington State. We've seen them take gradual steps forward, but I don't know how far we are from the ceiling. Like we could already be there and maybe just not know it. I don't know how much it advances beyond what we've seen the last year and a half in Pullman. Does that make sense?
Here's something important to remember. Washington State will, in all likelihood, never be a player for a major coach unless Ryan Leaf becomes a major coach. Unless a Washington State guy really, really wants to get back to Pullman and build some glory. That's just, Washington State, again, I believe is the farthest Power 5 school from an interstate. I think that's the stat. Maybe it's, I don't know. But in all likelihood, Washington State should have won 9 games this year. They should have beaten at Eastern. They should have won a shootout against Eastern to start the season. There's nothing wrong with losing to Boise, and then they lose to 2 top 10 teams to close out the year in Colorado and Washington. So they win 8 straight, including a big win at Stanford, who was top 15 at the time. 9 wins is probably the ceiling. You have, Mike Leach really shouldn't even be at Wazoo. Right? He should be at Texas Tech or a job that Texas Tech propelled him to because of what he was able to do on the field. It's just so difficult. And I think the case study is, look at Oregon. Oregon is coming off of however many great seasons, being a huge national program. And when they finally have a down year and fire a coach and go to the open market, they get at best their 3rd or 4th choice.
Right.
So Matt Rule allegedly turns them down. I think they pursued Tom Herman pretty aggressively, and obviously that didn't work out. And I'm very bullish on Willie Taggart. But if we're talking about Washington State in the open market, I don't think there's any way they do better than Mike Leach. And I think he's doing exactly what a school like Washington State on the West Coast, having certain geographic disadvantages, needs to do, and that's play with a definitive scheme. They could run the triple option or something like that, have a definitive identity, identify assistant coaches that you're probably going to lose when they become bigger names like they did to Oregon with Joe Salavea, their defensive line coach. They're going to have a lot of attrition, and they just happened into this coach. I think you're stuck with Mike Leach. The fact is, though, the offense is a little bit more balanced. They're running the ball a little bit more. I think they're moving in a really good direction. The defense went from an atrocious embarrassment to pretty good.
They got better, yeah.
They went to pretty. That's a huge leap in college football. Atrocious embarrassment to pretty good at a place nowhere near top talent. That's impressive.
And by the way,
I think you're stuck.
One of our big talking points down the stretch was how big the Apple Cup was going to be.
Yeah,
between
absolutely.
Washington and Washington State. Keep in mind, this is a program that was pretty much irrelevant,
right,
for many years. And then Mike Leach came along, and he has made them better. I do understand his frustration here because he sees that there might be a ceiling, and I feel that ceiling too. I think you're right. Tough to do well when you're kind of located in the middle of nowhere, and especially when you're in a really tough conference.
And here's the alternative: do you want Bo Baldwin? Do you want a really good Eastern coach? And you've already had experience with that with Paul Wolf. I believe he was at Eastern before. And Bo Baldwin is running Mike Leach's offense and isn't Mike Leach, or running an offense in the same universe, and has never really recruited on a big level regionally like Mike Leach has. If that's what you'd rather have, I think that's okay.
One question I've always wanted to ask Mike Leach, and maybe if we have him on the show next time, I can ask him. I really would like to know what he loves most about shaving with Harry's, Dan. Because Harry's, as you know, started by 2 guys named Jeff and Andy, not Mike. But they were fed up with being overcharged for razors. They decided they're going to start their own company.
Sure.
Give guys everywhere what they deserve, a great shave at a fair price. I got to tell a personal story here. This is God's honest truth. Hand to God here.
I'm ready.
I was shaving with Harry's for a while. And then I saw a deal on Amazon. I bought an electric razor. Now, I know you have partaken in the miracle of modern science that is electric razors, right?
I do. I have a beard trimmer that keeps things adequately trimmed, but I got a neck to take care of, Ty, and keep clean.
See, I have a problem with the neck.
Yeah.
And when I started using the electric razor, I was getting a beard of bees. So I made the decision that I was going to switch back to Harry's. I'm not having the neck issues. I'm not having the neck issues anymore.
Yeah. You're definitely the more suave of the two of us.
I agree. Harry's razors, they include everything that you need for a close, comfortable shave, even on the neck.
Right.
5 German engineered blades with a lubricating strip, a flex hinge for a comfortable glide, a trimmer blade for hard to reach places, and a weighted ergonomic handle. All this for $2 a blade Compare that with 4 or more, which is what you'll pay at the drugstore. This is the time to act. If you're like me, if you're looking for a close, comfortable shave, Harry's is so confident in the quality of their blades, they want you to try their most popular trial set for free. You hear me? Free. F-R-E-E.
I'm hearing.
Comes with a razor handle of your choice, a 5-blade cartridge, and shaving gel. Free when you sign up. You just got to pay a small fee for shipping. If you want to get in on the free trial, go to Harry's, harrys.com/solid, SOLID right now. harrys.com/solid. That's the God's honest truth, man. I had issues a couple months ago, decided, you know what, who am I kidding? Who am I kidding trying to be all sciencey? Let's just go back to what works. Let's go back to Harry's. So harrys.com/solid. Get in on it too.
Yeah, you're head to toe Harry's, taking care of you.
Where are we going next?
Let's go to this question. Over under on fired coaches. We can do this really quick. In the Pac-12 South, so we'll stay out west after 2017. Over under is 2.5. Which are you going? Pac-12 South coaches looking for new jobs after this year.
The operative phrase here is fired.
Mm-hmm.
Operative verb, I should say, is fired.
Sure.
He is not saying leaving on their own volition.
Correct.
Mike McIntyre is not going to get fired. Mike McIntyre just won 10 games at Colorado. He can stay there as long as he wants.
I think that's... he came under a little bit of fire this past offseason, rightfully so.
He's not getting fired.
Right.
Clay Helton at USC not getting fired. Unless things really go south. And I guess he can't ever fully count it out at USC.
Correct.
Probably not getting fired.
Yeah.
That leaves you with 4. My hunch is that Utah probably can't do a whole lot better than Kyle Whittingham. He is a really good football coach. There have been rumors of like strife between him and the athletic department.
That's really old. I think they're in a good place. But yeah.
I think they're in an okay place, and I'm confident in saying that Utah, again, with 9 wins under Whittingham, they've got no real reason to fire him. That leaves you with
Arizona schools,
and UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
You would need all 3 of those coaches to get fired, Dan. So I'm going to say the under just by deductive reasoning.
I'm taking the under as well.
Got to go under.
It'd be surprising if Jim Mora was back, just given the trajectory right now. But I think one of the 2 Arizona guys is at least there next year.
Okay.
Let's go non-college football for a little bit.
Okay.
This is from Mark. Which candy is the most overrated among the general public? I have an easy answer. That answer is Skittles. Skittles are not good. They're just not that good compared to the competition. Ty, where do you stand?
Reese's Pieces.
Really? That's my number 1.
No.
How do you not like Reese's Pieces?
I've never eaten a Reese's Pieces and wanted a second.
I will get an RP every single time I go to the airport if I'm in the mood for something sweet.
I don't want to make enemies here with big peanut butter, but I'm just saying that I've never had a Reese's Pieces and then wanted a second one. Maybe.
Do you like...
The only exception might be those little itty bitty ones that come individually wrapped. Sometimes those leave me yearning for a little bit more. They make the smaller ones now. They're not all like real big ones.
I don't think you know what a Reese's Pieces is.
I know what a Reese's Piece is.
What is a Reese's Piece?
The Reese's Pieces are smaller.
Smaller what?
Smaller peanut butter cups.
Ty, a Reese's Pieces is like an M&M.
They're all
It's a candy. No. Ty, you are out of line, sir.
I have a problem with the peanut butter candies.
Okay, so the Reese's Pieces it looks like an M&M, but I believe they're just orange, yellow, and maybe brown.
They're all the same.
But like visually, aesthetically, they look like M&Ms.
Let's just say anything in the like genus of the Reese's family, all right?
That's fair, but you just outed yourself as Reese's ignorant.
That's...
And I, for one, thought this show was above that.
It isn't. Get used to it. Reese's
So you're
Pieces,
talking about the
peanut
individual...
butter cups, the smaller peanut butter cups, anything they make. I'm out. Overrated.
But can we just agree that you are not specifically besmirching the piece?
No.
Okay, just making sure.
I am not discriminating. I'm throwing them all under the bus.
Man, will you eat like an M&M peanut butter, or that's out too? Anything with peanut butter?
I would eat that, yeah.
You just said anything with peanut butter is in the genus, the phylum of absurdity.
I said the Reese's genus.
Well, all the M&M peanut butter thing is it's a bigger version. Peanut butter M&M.
My head's about to explode.
This is unbelievable.
Let's move on. We're going to get tweets about this. More so than any college football thought. I am going to get
Have you
pounded.
not seen E.T.?
I've seen E.T. I love
Those
E.T.
are pieces. Those are Reese's Pieces. Those
know what
weren't
they are.
little cups. It wasn't a trail of cups.
Just not a fan. Not a fan
It
of
was
any of them.
pieces.
Not a fan of any of them.
I will say this, though. You can now get cups with pieces inside if you really wanted to be haunted.
See, they're all sort of cross-pollinating at this point.
Ty, how
Difficult
many,
to keep them all straight.
how many mustards are in your kitchen? Emmett wants to know. He said an over-under of 2.5 for you and 3 for me. How many mustards?
2.5.
I will count Deli Yellow, any sort of brown stone ground or milled mustard. I will count like a spicy Chinese, a Grey Poupon.
I've got
a
2.
Dijon.
I've got yellow, and I've got the brown spicy, which I believe I talked about ad nauseum at some point last year. How brown spicy mustard has changed my life.
Absolutely. If you're grilling some sausages up, it's nothing better.
So yeah, I'm under.
I think I have 2. I think I have the straight yellow and like a Dijon type for when I make like a spicy or honey mustard dressing.
Okay.
So we're both under.
Yeah, we're under.
Best album, Kenneth wants to know, of the 1999 triumvirate of emo, American Football, Clarity, or Something to Write Home About. I would add 2 more to this.
You have stronger opinions on this than I do, so go ahead.
I will probably, in terms of standing the test of time, I might go Something to Write Home About. I will listen to that more than Clarity, although I think Clarity is wonderful. But that was also the same year as Nothing Gold Can Stay from Newfound Glory and Through Being Cool. And I think I will have Through Being Cool above everything.
Okay.
Saves the day.
Sounds good.
Okay. Do you not have thoughts on this?
I don't have strong. I was a big fan of Clarity, but
Okay.
yeah.
Fair enough. Here is a wonderful question. Actually, before we go into this wonderful question that we're probably going to sort of dive down a rabbit hole with, quickly, who has more wins this year? This is from Benjamin. Tom Herman at Texas, Charlie Strong at USF. Have you look at USF's schedule? Their tough road game this year out of conference is the Fighting Illini of Illinois.
All right, let's go USF.
Oh, excuse me. They play that game at home.
Let's go USF.
Okay. Agree. Finally.
Yeah.
Zach, if you guys were going to pull off an elaborate crime, like a really big bank robbery or art theft, how would you do it? Okay, let's clarify something off the top.
Yeah.
I thought about this independent of you because he said if you guys, like we were doing it together. I don't know if it was together or individual. I thought about it solo, individual, like my own strategy if I were heading up a plan to rob a bank or like a really nice museum or gallery.
I thought about it independent of you.
Okay, good. Same page.
Independent of you. I feel like the first and most important step in planning an elaborate crime, not that I'm advertising anyone do this, but I feel like you need to establish your alibi.
Okay.
First and foremost, like if you're gonna be in deep trying to steal like money in a bank heist or art, you need to somehow establish an alibi by like, not driving a GPS enabled vehicle there.
Right.
Don't take your cell phone with you. Just go dark, as they say on the shows. That's the first thing I think is most important. I also think I'd do it in broad daylight.
Why?
I feel like there are probably more booby traps at night. There are more things that could go wrong at night because of the darkness. I think my strategy is probably to do it in broad daylight, some sort of mask. It needs to be a mask, some sort of attire to make them know that I'm serious and a little bit crazy. Like wear like a Florida State jersey.
Okay.
I think I'd go with the banknote approach.
Okay.
I'd go in there broad daylight with the mask, with some sort of jersey to give me credibility.
You're such an...
I'd slide a note across, but it would have to be one of those notes that was comprised of several cut up letters from a magazine.
Yeah.
Just to add the creepy and crazy factor to it. I would then do my best to get off into some sort of panel van, an unmarked van, no plates. And then what I've always wanted to do is sort of light that vehicle on fire at some point.
So you're faking your own death?
Maybe faking my own death, but at least eliminating the getaway vehicle.
Yeah.
In like some back alley somewhere in a cornfield. Light the van on fire so that no one can really get any forensics from it.
That's the plan?
That's the rough draft at this point.
All right, so I'm going long con. So I'm doing some research ahead of time, and I'm figuring out who's working at this bank, who's working at this gallery, who's working at this museum, and I'm trying to figure out an in romantically, Ty.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to find that in romantically, if it's a bank. Let's say bank. Let's stay on the same page. I'm finding out tellers. I'm doing research. I'm doing some. Listen, at this point, I'm a bank robber, so
No.
stalking is within my realm of awfulness, right?
So you're trying to develop an unwitting asset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely doing, because I do not have the ability to guns blaze into a bank. That's not the humanity of that is, I don't have it. I just don't, or the inhumanity. I don't have it. It's just not in my DNA. But
Right.
to be an awful person one-on-one, sure. So I don't think it's like a James Bond type seduction, but it's flirtation. It's you sort of figure out a way into this person's life, and then you concoct some sort of sob story about needing money, and you exhaust you figure out a reason why you can't do everything that's on the level. Oh, I can't sell this. I don't have any assets. I just need money. Like, what if because you work at the bank, let's call her Audrey. What if nobody would ever know if we just did it like a little bit at a time, like that kind of thing. And it was just like a little bit. And here's the thing, what I would do next.
So are you going Office Space, like a couple cents at a time?
Well, that's not a couple cents at a time. Well, that was a computer sort of heist, right? They were doing it through the Y2K exchange, whatever it was, some sort of software thing. I'm doing maybe some kind of, there's cash on hand, there's petty cash on hand, and I know they count it at the end of the day, whatever, but maybe at a certain point when she knows that there's like a rotation, a transfer of the cash coming in or going out, that we figure out a way to sort of circumvent the process. We get away with the money, and people aren't going to know for a day?
No, right.
I'm very fortunate because my middle brother is a pilot.
Okay.
So I feel like we can possibly circumvent the sort of passport, visa. We can get on a plane to somewhere foreign, I would think.
We're going to be on some sort of travel list after this.
This is me and Audrey,
podcast.
by the way.
Okay.
I don't think I know a single person named Audrey.
No.
But that's my plan right there. But the problem is Audrey is going to think we're doing this for a noble reason. So I'm going to have to figure out some way to ditch her in a nonviolent way. So it's a long con, sort of Lost Sawyer. Did you watch the show Lost?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
See, I don't like the fact that you're taking Audrey with you.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm including her in the initial heist, but then I'm ditching her. So I'm weaponizing my charm, Ty.
Weaponizing your charm and her emotions to get.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of, because I'm not a killer, Ty. I am not a stone cold killer.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go in there and do bodily harm. I also wouldn't want to do anything that requires me to dangle from the ceiling like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. I don't feel like that's a successful means of acquiring any kind of loot.
And you got to get to a non-extraditing country, or you got to get somewhere where you can definitely lay low.
I'm telling you, go in there with the mask, scare the bejesus out of someone, 15 minutes in, out, unmarked panel van, on fire, make your getaway into a non-extradition country.
So you're going to have to do some research, and you're going to have to go to a bank that doesn't have like the bulletproof glass, because you're not a threat if you slide a note under bulletproof glass.
There's definitely going to need to be some research into this plan, Dan.
Right.
I'm not advocating don't do your research. Definitely do your research, but go in there, brute force, make it happen, get out.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Although now that I'm saying all this out loud and realizing that my fiance works in finance, it sounds very fishy. It sounds very fishy. And I assure you, I am deeply in love with her and would never do that. Although I guess that's what I would say if I were.
I actually read a great bank robber tale.
Okay.
In a fine publication on Texture, Dan.
Oh, nice. I've read a couple of those myself in long form magazine features.
You a big fan of DB Cooper?
Always.
Like jumping out of planes? Where'd he go? They still don't know.
Love it.
Texture can fill you in on all the details. DB Cooper and more. It's a fine service.
Mm-hmm.
Over 200 plus magazines are available. They offer access to in-depth interviews, articles from the convenience of your phone or tablet, Dan. It is basically the Netflix for magazines.
Yeah.
For publications. They give you daily recommendations and exclusive interactive features that you can't get in the print edition of your favorite publications. They make it easy to enjoy the articles you want to read. Plus, it's searchable, which is sort of cliche at this point in 2017. Everything, the world is searchable, but not so much your magazines. And when you got them all at your fingertips, and you can search for what kind of stuff you're into, I think that's sort of a differentiator. Plus, you get bonus video content.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
So get everything from Sports Illustrated to Esquire to Forbes, they're all available. Way less money than you'd pay if you got a subscription or even bought them all individually. Get it through Texture. Was selected as one of Apple's top 2016 iPad apps. Normally, this service is $9.99 a month. But if you sign up right now at texture.com, texture.com/solid, you will get a 14-day free FREE trial.
Nice.
14 days. Try Texture for free when you go to texture.com/solid. One more time, that is texture.com/solid. Dan.
Ty, what non-sports podcast do you listen to? Jake wants to know.
My brother, and me.
Oh, yes.
It's my favorite.
How you've only recently started listening, right?
Well, I've no, that's not true. I've been a long time Bam listener.
Solid Wife Kate.
But right, I didn't listen for a while, then I picked it back up at your prodding, because I know you're a fan as well.
It's unbelievable.
I got Solid Wife Kate into it. She now has a longer commute than she has at any point in her adult life.
Is she going to go tangential McElroy shows?
See, I think she's started dipping her toes in the water.
Okay.
Listen to a little bit of Rose Buddies, Adventure Zone, whatnot. I'm still sticking with the flagship Bim Bam, but I have dabbled with the TV show. I'm very excited with what they're doing right now.
And as background, my brother, and me, for anybody that is not familiar, three brothers give advice, and it gets weird, and they also answer questions. They give advice. People write in with questions. They give funny advice, and then they also answer questions from Yahoo Answers, which is all just ridiculous. And you should listen. And two of the three brothers are Vox Media employees. They work for Polygon. It's an unbelievably popular show. Hilarious. Go listen.
Yeah. So that would be my obvious answer.
Give me an unobvious.
Let me pull up the old text machine here.
While you do that, I will tell you, I started listening to one last night. It is about as unsports. It's a little bit sportsy if you consider fitness sports. Missing Richard Simmons. Have you heard of this?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Missing Richard Simmons. Richard Simmons, of course, the very famous fitness teacher, whatever, entertainment figure, for the last 2 years has like basically disappeared and like won't leave his house. And it's like a big mystery. And his friends, who are, I think one of whom is like a movie producer of some kind in LA, started this podcast, and it's just them investigating what the hell happened to Richard Simmons. It sounds sort of strange and esoteric. I assure you, it's pretty captivating.
Really?
It's great. They're like 25, 30-minute episodes, so it's really quick. I think there's only been 3 or 4 that have been released. I'm telling you, it's wonderful.
Other shows I'd call out, Dan Carlin's Hardcore History.
Oh, right.
A personal favorite. It's like an audiobook. He does an outstanding job. Nice. I will also throw a shout out to my good friends who do the Last Row podcast, movie podcast.
Oh, right.
Have been a guest on the show.
What movie did you do?
Examining some of the movies that you forgot you loved. You know, I don't even remember. I think I might have done Ghostbusters.
Nice.
I'm a little bit of a Ghostbusters historian, but
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Are there any other ones
that I listen to consistently? Not really. It's a bunch of sports ones. I really like listening to a bunch of NBA ones. SB Nation has great podcasts, and you should listen to all of them. I really like Limited Upside. Non-SB Nation NBA one, the True Hoop podcast that ESPN puts out is great.
They do a good job. Yeah,
I really like that one a lot. Okay, next question, Ty.
Yeah.
Amber combines 2 things I'm loving here, football and food. When watching football, is it better to have solid meals or lots of snacks all day long?
Gotta go solid meals.
I'm going to go solid meals as well.
Gotta go solid meals. I have a problem, and maybe this is a little TMI, but if
You're
you
a
go
poop monster.
Yeah, that's right. If you go snacks all day long, it tends to upset the balance of the digestive process.
Right.
And therefore you get odd results. Let's stick with what got you here, Dan.
Yeah.
And just go solid meals, stick to a regular schedule. It's going to be a long day. Do your best to try and go solid meals at predictable times.
You can say whatever you'd like about this show. If you don't like this show, if you love this show, but you will never accuse us of not caring about your poops. We are all about poop health on the Solid Verbal.
That's right, yeah.
And Ty just showed that to everybody right here. And I I applaud you, Ty. Yeah, I think I'm going to go solid meals here just because I look forward to the variety of things. I don't get to eat out all that often, even though I live in New York, and sort of thinking about things to make for lunch when people come over for games on the weekend or ordering for dinner, stuff like that. I think it's a little bit more fun, and you can include snacks with that. You can say, let's make tacos and we'll make some nachos for everybody to share. I think you can do both on a certain level, but yeah, it becomes a little bit dangerous. You're snacking all day. I don't know about that.
All right, we will close out with this final question here, Dan.
Hit me. I'm ready.
Matt wants to know, what are the mandatory songs for a wedding reception?
I love this question. I was at a wedding this past weekend, and it helped me hone my opinion about this.
How are you putting together your wedding playlist?
Okay. So we've already met with the band. We're having a band, not a DJ. And I feel very strongly about one very specific thing. And that is, it's a dance floor. There should be dance music.
Okay.
And so that eliminates like all 80s rock for me. Because
Okay.
you're not really dancing that. Like if you can shout along to Bon Jovi, you can, you're not dancing to that. You're just sort of like, maybe your fist is in the air. Like that's not fun. I don't want to do that. No, I want to move. I want rhythm. I want a bass line. I want a beat. That's what I want. It's a dance floor, not a stand floor.
All right.
So mandatory songs to me. Everybody feels differently. Do your thing. And like this past weekend, it was a good intro of dance music, and then it went like heavy 80s pop rock that wasn't really danceable, and people abandoned the dance floor.
Okay.
And I think the couple likes that kind of music, and that's cool. But so like I'm thinking like PYT. A lot of I go heavy Michael Jackson from the 80s, like Thriller era Michael Jackson, whatever, Bad, whatever. I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston. Poison from Belle Biv DeVoe. Can't Stop the Feeling, Justin Timberlake, great dance song. You Make My Dreams, Hall & Oates. I would love some Shout. Get some oldies in there. Get everybody involved. Valerie, the newer song, it's Mark Ronson and Amy Winehouse. That's a great little dance number. I love that. I know I just sounded 1,000 years old by calling it a dance number.
Right, yeah.
But I will insist that those types of songs, you want people dancing. They had people at this wedding dancing when the band took a break and they just started playing I Want to Dance with Somebody like over the PA. People hit the dance floor en masse just because they wanted to dance.
Will you be launching into the treasure trove of mid to late 90s boy bands?
No, probably not.
You're not going to do any in sync.
So I think those specifically because of like the sort of the harmonies that the guys have together, it's hard to replicate in a fun way with a band, I think.
See, here's the thing.
Give me a specific song.
Here's why you're wrong about that. It doesn't even matter how good the performance is.
Right.
All right. It's just the fact that they're playing it that will get people up.
Do you want people dancing or singing along?
I want both.
Okay.
I want both. I'm fine with either.
It's too late for you, Ty.
It is too late for me. Thank you. I'm fine with Journey. I'm fine with Living on a Prayer.
See,
those two.
You lose me. I want people leaving my wedding sweaty.
Don't Stop Believing, Living on a Prayer are two mandatory songs.
I totally disagree.
Mandatory songs, in my opinion.
We, in meeting with the band, our do not playlist was all 80s rock.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I am discouraged by the fact that you're not going to go in sync. I feel like that's a staple.
Give me a song.
Any of them.
Okay. But like, what is the most danceable in sync song?
It doesn't need to be danceable. That's my point.
I think it's going to be me.
Gonna be my
Ba-ba-ba-ba-bum-bum.
Could go Bye Bye Bye.
Yeah. That's fine.
Listen, go Backstreet
I'm fine
Boys.
with
You got all sorts of options there. I'm not saying I'm the biggest fan in the world, but I'm telling you, at a regal event such as a wedding, where you're going to have a bunch of early 30-somethings, that kind of stuff plays. It doesn't matter how good the band performs it.
Don't give me a false equivalence of Backstreet Boys being like NSYNC. NSYNC is far superior. Everybody knows this.
Agreed.
Okay. I know what we're going to close on, Ty.
All right.
Little slow dance.
If you play that
for the
song
old-timers
at your wedding, I am hopping on the flight home ASAP, and we're never doing this show again.
We're going to show highlights of the Gipper on a big screen.
Don't even think about it.
Newt Rockney. Yeah, I feel strong. Like, people should be sweating. That's how I feel, Ty.
Will these be recognizable songs, though?
Oh, yeah.
Don't
absolutely.
get super indie hipster on me. Make sure there's songs that we know.
There's nothing indie hipster. There's nothing. It'll be like 80s, 90s, some current stuff. Will we play some Bruno Mars? Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. See now we're speaking the same language here.
Sure. I'm just saying you can dance to that.
Absolutely. I'm excited for
expect
your
you to
wedding.
dance.
You know I'm coming, right? I told you.
I believe I knew that you were coming. We're in, let's see, how long do we have now? We're under 3 months.
Yeah.
About almost 2 3/4 months, something like that.
Like 2.5-ish. All right.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
have
I'm
a
excited.
tasting.
I'm excited.
Tasting went great. And we're on schedule, Ty. Everything
Good.
is going well.
Did you get your suit yet?
Have not gotten my suit yet.
You got to get on that, dog.
I will. I'm not worried.
All right. Well, I'm excited.
No, everything is good. We know how we're going to plan bank heists.
Yeah.
We're going to get to Matt's question the next time we do a Q&A about his Michigan State fandom and his wife's Nebraska fandom, or flip-flop that.
Yeah.
We got to snacks. We got to Tom Herman. We got a lot of Penn State talk. We got some new quarterback talk in. Quickly, I will answer this question because you can't contribute at all to this beyond confirming something. Michael wants to know the best food truck in Los Angeles. It's an actual assignment he has in college, which, holy crap.
Wow.
What a class.
What a great college.
Mariscos Jalisco is unbelievably good. It might be my favorite. It's the best shrimp taco in America, and they have other really good Mexican seafood. That's downtown. The Kogi barbecue truck, which Ty has been to.
Yeah.
Really, really good tacos and a bunch of other Mexican with Korean influence kind of stuff. Ricky's, best fish taco in America to me. That's on East Hollywood. Leo's, couple locations, very, very, very good al pastor tacos. Gorilla Taco is more avant-garde, a little more gourmet, but it's from a truck and it's great. And Carnitas El Momo, which I think is only open on the weekends, but superior carnitas. Those are my answers.
All right. So here is the deal. As you know, the college basketball brackets for March Madness get released on Sunday.
Yes.
We've always had a bracket. We'll put that bracket out there so anyone can sign up. We'll do it through ESPN.com as we have each and every year. Sign up, do a funny name. We'll shout out the winner of that. We will not be providing any actual analysis for that basketball tournament. I haven't watched a single minute of college basketball all year.
Really?
Single minute.
Oh, Oregon's really good. It might be a 1 seat, so that gets me watching.
Haven't watched a single minute, but we will be having a pick 'em pool, so do get in on that. Next week, we're going to do our secret garbage bracket, are we not?
We are, and we need your help.
We need your help. So write in solidverbal@gmail.com, send us your lists, share out your Google Docs, tweet us, Facebook us, what have you. We are looking for things that people are into but are secretly garbage.
People like blank, but it's secretly garbage.
We have not yet figured out the format for this show, how we'll organize the brackets. Literally everything about it remains up in the air. So if you have any hot takes, please let us know.
Yes, and I will say right now, the Solid Verbal is already on there.
Solid Verbal is already on there.
Solid Verbal's already on there, so you don't need to submit that. We understand how you feel, but you still are with us, and we are eternally grateful. So yes, like I would say, Skittles. People like Skittles. I think Skittles are garbage.
And I would say the Reese's family.
You would say the Reese's family. So can we concoct a Google form? Are you an advanced enough computer person?
I am an advanced Google Forms user, yes.
Okay, so that'll be very easy. You just enter your name and things that you think are garbage that people like. I would add ketchup to that. Ketchup will be in the bracket.
We're going to have to discuss this. This could be the schism between us that ends the show.
Yep, I imagine that's going to be the case.
So stay tuned next week. Then the week after will actually be the Verbies. So a bunch of interactive elements now coming to a head. We are finalizing the Verbies bracket. You can vote on your favorites. We'll do the award show in 2 weeks. We'll do the garbage bracket next week. And then we've got a bunch of fun stuff coming up after that.
I will also say this, Ty, and then we can close it out. I just wanted a quick message out there. Audrey, I am so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I got in over my head. I didn't know what to do. I never planned on falling in love with you. That was never part of the plan. And it's not who I am. It's who I was. And I hope you can forgive me someday.
For that guy over there, Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildenbrand, thanks again for tuning into the show. Hit us up at itunes.com/solidverbal, solidverbal.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. We will catch you all in a week. Stay solid.
Peace.